power back at my apartment.
Oh, was it off for a couple days?
Yeah, we only had like half for probably a day and a half.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm glad you got it back.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome. Okay. How about anybody on Zoom? Anything exciting?
Nothing, huh?
Yeah, you guys are horrible.
They did just the.
I know, they didn't show up.
Yeah, we're
Seriously.
She said she wasn't going to come. She had told me she was.
She's good at that.
Is she?
She's great at avoiding.
I don't even know she's on.
Yeah.
I don't think she's even on yet.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, she's been dealing with some clients.
Hmm.
A lot of grief.
I don't see her on yet. So, all right. Well, so here's what we're going to do. So today is going to be, I'm going to just pull this up so I can see, maybe here. So I can see comments and stuff when they come in. But what we're going to do today is we're going to go through, we're going to be playing this Jeopardy game. So I was hoping we'd have more people in person, but I understand if you're not going to be here. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to actually do Jeopardy. So I'm not sure how it's going to go as well with you guys on Zoom, but we're going to see how it goes here. Sorry, I'm just trying to get set up here. So the idea of today is going to be really more about where what we're going to be doing is going through and doing this Jeopardy game. So essentially it's kind of a review of everything we've talked about over the last 5 classes that we've done. And in essence, making sure that we cover all the stuff the division wanted us to cover so that you can get credit for the 12-hour New Agent course. So for you guys that are here, let me pass around the sign-in sheet. And you guys that are on Zoom, if you will put in your first name and last name, and if you have not given me your license number, make sure you do. Give me your license number so that I can record this as part of the 12-hour New Agent course for you. So, all right. Well, so here's what we're going to do. So for you guys online, I guess you're going to have to somewhat be playing individually on this. So I don't know how we're going to keep track of points, but I guess for you on Zoom, what we're going to do is just have you, you're going to have to just ring in by either making a sound, I guess, or putting a letter or something in the chat box so that we know that you're wanting to ring in. But what I think I'm going to do here, so we've got 6 people here. So have you guys break up. You can still social distance, but be in groups of 3. So, because you're going to work as teams. So you're going to be in groups of 3. You guys that are online, I guess, just are going to do it individually, I guess. I don't know how else to do it for you, but we'll count your points together as Zoom. So to some extent, it's 8 against, I guess we could just do you guys as a team and them a team.
Yeah, that works.
8 against 6. So they got 8, you guys got 6. Should we do that?
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So
See how quick they are.
yeah, we'll see how good they are. All right. So let me get the screen share going here so that we can just pulled up and working. And then you guys that are on Zoom, you're going to have to just buzz in. And I guess you're just going to have to hope there's not a delay. Because
They'll beat him every time.
if there's a delay, they're going to beat you every time. So, all right. Get this here.
We're outnumbered. They've got 10. They've got 10 now?
Well, no, there's not really 10.
Hello?
It's not right. Oh, there we go. All right.
Hello?
All right, so here's what we're going to do. Since these guys are live, you guys get to choose. So we are going to do Zoom against here. So essentially, you guys that are on Zoom, you're going to have to unmute, I think is probably the only way that, and so you got to make some type of a sound, which is going to let me know that you are trying to ring in. So, all right, now it's, and hey, now we're even, 9M9, right? Or I guess not quite. It was 8 to 7 to 8, I guess. All right. So you guys get to choose first. Now let me make sure you guys understand the rules of Jeopardy. Is even though the people that are live here in person are gonna choose the first category, anybody on Zoom or anybody here, make a noise somehow, raise your hand, but you gotta make a noise, cause like if I might be looking over at the computer, so I'm listening for where the sound is coming from. Oh, now we're maybe 8 on 8, that's good. So, you gotta make some type of a noise, but anybody can ring in. Now, here's the question. If you answer wrong, do you lose points? You guys wanna say that you lose points or you don't lose points? If you answer wrong.
What do you usually do?
You usually lose points, in my opinion.
I want to play the way we're supposed to play, so if we're doing that, let's do it. That's how it works in Jeopardy.
You don't think it's how it works?
In real Jeopardy, you lose points.
Yeah, you lose points.
You lose your
do.
money.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you lose your points or your
Let's do
money
it.
or whatever,
Let's
so.
do real
Like
Jeopardy.
that one.
All right, and see, Zoom's not even,
Yeah.
you guys are gonna kill me. All right, so since you guys are here in person, I'm gonna let you choose the category. And in fact, I'm gonna shut off the lights, probably be able to see it a little bit easier. All right. You ready? What are you gonna choose? Okay, so you guys on Zoom, you gotta unmute and make a noise if you're wanting to ring in.
Contracts, 1,000.
Going strong.
You guys are going strong, contracts for 1,000?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
Why not?
here we go. All right, so now here, well, before I throw it up here, as far as I'm concerned, you do not have to answer in the form of a question. I'm like, I mean, you can if you want, but if you don't, you don't. Like, I don't really care. Just, you gotta get it right. That's the main thing. All right, here we go. Meeting of the minds.
Mediation.
No,
No.
that is incorrect.
It's a contract.
He's
Yeah,
thinking
I-
out
So there's minus
Yeah, I know, he's thinking-
1,000.
Oh, that was terrible. Sorry.
All right, anybody on Zoom?
What's the question?
So
That's the answer. You got
meeting,
another
the
question?
answer is meeting of the mind. So now, but now let me give you a hint. So I'll give Zoom a hint since they get to answer next.
What is closing?
What's that?
What is closing?
No. So now I'll just wipe out and you're both at 0.
I know what it is, I can't remember.
So now let me give you a hint and we'll start over. Okay? What we're talking about is the elements of a contract.
I knew it, I just said it.
So we're talking about the elements of a contract. So in order for you to have a contract, there are certain things that have to happen. That's what we're talking about. So which one is then meeting of the minds? So now you can buzz in if you want. All of a sudden, it's like, maybe we shouldn't have gone for the 1,000.
Yeah, seriously.
You gotta make a noise.
You have to be. Do I answer?
I guess talking is a
You have
noise,
to be
right?
mental capacity, mental capacity. You have to be of sound mind and whatever.
Final answer?
It's right on the tip of my head.
Because I'll be,
Why can't there be a question? Did you get it?
I know, right? It's like a very.
Yeah, you have to be. Yeah.
So I know minus another 1,000.
minus another 1,000.
We need a minus. Come on.
We are all
Well, it's,
questions.
What is mutual agreement?
That's probably close enough. So in essence, the answer is offer and
Oh.
acceptance. So in order for you to have a contract, there has to be an offer. That's like a 2,000 point swing right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. All right, so good job, Zoom. Offer and acceptance. So in order for you to have a valid contract, now, so keep in mind, that will give you some more hints now on what the rest of the questions in the contract section are, is around what are the elements that have to be in place for you to actually have a contract? Well, there has to be an offer and acceptance, which I just labeled that as a meeting of the minds is basically what it is. So you have to have an offer and acceptance in order for that to take place. All right, good. All right, so Zoom. I guess whoever got it right gets to choose the,
Are all of the questions gonna be like answer first and we have to pick what the question
Yeah, that's
is?
tough.
yeah, that's how Jeopardy works.
I would.
Yeah.
I would.
That's
want-
Jeopardy.
All
Now
the
the-
Jeopardy
Oh,
questions?
really?
Yeah.
That's how Jeopardy works. They give you the
We'll
answer.
do agency for 800.
Agency for 800, okay.
Oh.
Let's get our points back. We got this.
I would
Alright.
argue that meeting of the minds is outdated.
Yeah.
There's
We learned about it.
Statute of frauds is a place meeting in the mines.
That's not true.
Well, meeting in the mines you can't, because you have an unenforceable contract that's just meeting in the mines. You know?
Well, that's only one of the elements of the contract. There are other elements.
Okay.
That's why there's 4 more questions in that column. All right, so they said agency for 800s. Okay, so anybody can buzz in, and remember again, just make a noise. All right, answer is obligates the agent to inform the principal of any material fact the agent learns about. All right.
Disclosure. Yeah, I was.
Oh, can I answer? Oh,
They buzzed in the room first.
oh,
So
okay.
respond then you can. So let's see what happens. Ooh, good job.
Nice.
Full disclosure, good.
Good answer. Good.
So now you're only now they're only minus 200.
Yeah.
All right, so good. So anything that you know about, you have to disclose to your client. That's the idea of this full disclosure is if you know about it, your client knows about it. You can't withhold things from your client for any reason. If you know, they know. All right. So after all that, Jake, it's still not working here. It's the presenter view, but that's all right. All right, so what do you guys want?
Oh,
Yeah, you guys that were in the room gets to choose.
Federal laws, 600.
Wow. All right, so before I put anything up there, what do you think this question is going to have to do with? Okay, good. Just making sure. Contract. All right, here we go. Eliminate discrimination against those with disabilities.
Use of actual, like,
Sexual federal law, yeah. What's that? That is incorrect. So you guys are going the wrong direction here. All right. How about online? Go ahead. Yeah. Nothing from online? All right, do you guys want to try to get your points back?
Americans with Disabilities Act.
Final answer?
Oh, it sounds like.
Yeah. Are we going with it?
Why not? Well,
Good job. All right, that is correct. The Americans with Disabilities Act. So, okay, so with that in mind, what does that mean? Meaning, so what is the Americans with Disabilities Act? What does it cover?
So
Okay, good. So yeah, so here's we don't end up dealing with it really too much on the sales side of things, meaning somebody selling their house, the seller's not going to have to go in and make the house wheelchair accessible kind of a thing. So really it doesn't apply too much to what we are doing, but it is important to understand that in the terms, because so many agents end up going and buying properties and stuff, I think it's important for you to understand from that standpoint of if you're going to be a landlord, that if somebody's moving in and wants to widen the doorway or lower cabinets or whatever, make the bathroom a little bit more accessible for them, then you have to do it. But at whose expense? Is it at your expense, the landlord's? That's right. So basically the person who's going to be moving in has to pay for the change. You just have to allow them to make the changes, and then when they move out, they have to pay to put it back as well. So, but that's what the Americans with Disabilities Act is. All right. Good, bad job, or bad, good job. All right, so it's back to you guys in the room.
Did we get points for that one?
Yeah, well, first you lost them.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and you got them back. Yeah.
Yeah, we just still.
All right.
So we get to choose.
You're going to choose.
You want to choose it since you answered it?
Do state laws for
I'm impressed. Usually when we do this game, like that's the laws stuff, everybody waits till the very end. But, all right, here we go. Use of 2 or more contracts, one of which is concealed. Oh, there's a term for that. You gotta buzz in first.
Are we allowed to communicate with each other?
You guys can communicate. Let's just buzz in. Is somebody on Zoom buzz in first? I don't know how you guys on Zoom are gonna communicate. But
Double contract?
Yeah.
What is double contract? Legal?
Yeah, it's illegal.
Is that a final answer?
Yeah.
All right. Good job. Double contract. Good job. All right, you get rid of the minus sign now. You're in the positive. Okay. Well, so now let me explain this to you. And now here's the hard part. What I'm about to explain to you, you're going to kind of go, that's a good idea. Like, so I'm not giving you ideas, but there was a time where this was pretty prevalent in our market back in the, it was late 90s, early 2000, that what was happening was this. And I did something very similar to what I'm going to share to you. The difference was the way I did it was legal, and the way that I'm going to explain it to you that a lot of people were doing it was illegal. So what would happen was this is, well, so let me back up. If you were to go get, let's just use for ease of numbers, $100,000 property. You were going to go buy a property for $100,000, and you were going to only put 3% or 5% down on that. You're going to have mortgage insurance. How much do you have to put down on a home to typically to avoid mortgage insurance? 20%. So typically that's kind of, I mean, now that's not 100% correct, but in most of the time you got to have a 20% down. Back then, 20% down is the only way you were not going to have mortgage insurance. Well, so what people were doing was this. Let's say a property was listed at $80,000. Agents would go in and go to a seller and say, we will offer you $100,000 to buy your home. So it's listed at 80, but we're going to pay 100,000. The seller would say, why would you do that? And then they would say, well, we're going to go get a loan for 80,000. We want you to finance the other $20,000 so that way we can go get a loan for basically 100% of the value of the home, but we have no mortgage insurance with it. But then, which nothing wrong with that, by the way, what we've talked about so far, nothing wrong with that. But there was this side agreement that was not disclosed to the lender that as soon as the property closed, the seller would forgive that note of the $20,000. So now the buyer didn't owe that $20,000 to the seller, and the buyer would pay no mortgage insurance. So it was a way around basically of looking like you're putting 20% down on a loan, but you were actually putting 0 down because now the challenge that you would have today in doing it, back then, appraisers were a little bit more, hey, what do you need to appraise for? Okay, and kind of appraise. Today, hopefully, that they're a little bit more truthful, I guess. I don't know if that's accurate, probably. In what they're putting down is what the value of the property. So it's not going to be as easy to do. Now, when I say I did it, I had one that I had gone and listed the property, and it was 110,000 that I listed the property for, I think. I'm not sure, but it was overpriced, and it was probably close to 20% overpriced. And so what happened was somebody showed up and said, hey, we'll buy the property from you, but we want to pay, or we'll pay the full price, but we want the seller to do a 20% carryback. Well, I went to my seller and just said, honestly, in my opinion, your home is not worth that, what they're offering. And so, like, we've got no other offers. If you're wanting this other property, I would probably recommend you take it and do that. But and here's the key, we're not going to forgive the note afterwards. And the buyer wasn't planning on us forgiving the note. But what happened is, so we closed on it. They then owed the money, but they never once made a payment for what they owed on that. Which, like I say, from my perspective, I was kind of like, well, it's kind of crappy because the seller was hoping they would make payments, but it was also actually what the property was really worth. The interesting thing is they went like 3 months, never made the payment. And then there was this big news on about these people that had broken into a Polaris dealership and stole all these snowmobiles. And it turned out it was the buyer of the house. So then they got arrested and the house got foreclosed. And anyway, so the seller never got anything. But here's the point. You can't, what you cannot do is you can't have a contract where there is something that is not disclosed to the lender. And so the challenge is, so even this week, I had an agent asking me, hey, we're trying to do a 1031 exchange. The 1031 exchange company needs both of the seller's names on the contract. But the buyer is only wanting to buy this new property under their own name. They don't want to do it as a partner with the partner they were on from the sale, and the partner's okay with it. What do we do? Well, the only answer I could give to him, which falls under this double contract, so I had to say, here's the only way you're going to be able to do it, is do an addendum adding the buyer to the contract. But you would have to not give that to the lender at that point, because if the lender gets it, they're going to say you got to remove it. But the problem is if you do an addendum and you don't give it to the lender, then yeah, you're not breaking the law because you're doing something the lender's not aware of. So anyway, just keep in mind, anything that the lender is not aware of is considered a double contract, and basically that's where we're saying it's NC. All right, next. In the room, you guys got that one. You're still losing, by the way, but you're good job. Federal law is 800. All right. Yeah, you guys, this is get those out. All right. The federal laws are like the worst. All right, here we go. Unlawful to discriminate based on any of the following: race, color, religion, sex, national origin. What is fair housing? Is that your answer?
Yeah.
No. Just kidding.
Oh,
Oh, it was wrong.
no.
I screwed it up. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, so you still lose the points. But actually, I don't know. Zoom, should they lose the points since you guys didn't get a chance to get them? Yeah, I guess no response is a no. All right. So, yeah, sorry. I know, right? So, Civil Rights Act. Sorry, I blew that one. There is another one that is fair housing, just so you know. So the next one, you'll get it right. All right. So just keeping in mind, it is unlawful to discriminate any of the following. So just let's do it this way for the points. So now Zoom, you guys can answer. What is the year of that? Go ahead. 68. I don't even know. I don't remember. I was hoping there'd be just unanimous. I think it is 68.
What?
I think it's 1968. So you guys were wrong again.
So civil rights act, can you Google it?
Wait, there's more.
Yeah, Google it, I guess.
64.
Okay, 64. No, nobody got it. All right, we won't do anything with any points.
Fair housing.
All right. Are you guys on Zoom, like still on? Like put something in the chat box, I guess, since you're not responding. Like, just
I'm still on. I'm still here from Zoom.
all right. But I put some,
I just don't want to lose points.
hey, you guys are winning, but that's true. It might be a good strategy. Don't answer. We're under pressure here. All right, back to you guys in the room since nobody got that one. I screwed that one up. Sorry. Actually, you guys should be grateful I screwed it up. You would have lost points. Yes.
I went through agency for 600.
All right, agency for 600. Answer is, obligates the agent to place the best interest of the principal of all other interests, including the agent's own interests.
Zoom.
All right, go ahead, Zoom.
What is fiduciary duties?
Which one? 5, 4.
Loyalty.
Good job.
Ah!
Yeah.
Good. All right, good job.
That's awesome.
You extended your lead. I was going to say, just when you said you didn't want to lose points, and then you almost did.
I know.
All right, so loyalty, yeah. So keeping in mind is one of our fiduciary duties as an agent is that we have to be loyal to the client, even if it is not necessarily in our best interest. We have to keep our client's best interest in mind. And that was, I had shared with you guys earlier the story about going out and showing the home to some friends of mine, his son and his daughter, friends, his son and his wife, and how the agent had called me and said, you had to put your client's best interest above your own, because I had said they might not make an offer because it was 2.5%. Well, again, that I showed them the property, which is what my job is. There would have been nothing wrong with me saying to them, you're going to have to pay the difference, which I didn't do, and they didn't end up writing the offer. So just keeping in mind, we owe that as part of our fiduciary duties. All right, so for Zoom, choose your next category.
We'll do agency for 200.
All right, so as a hint, this will probably be something to do with fiduciary duties. All right, here we go. Answer is proper time to disclose who you represent. All right, well, this doesn't necessarily.
Zoom. Zoom.
All right, go ahead, Zoom. They
As
started
soon as-
talking, but they were going to answer.
As soon as you're able to, as soon as possible.
All right, that's close enough. I was going to say what? What is what? You're going to say close. All right, so here's what's close enough, but here's essentially what the law says.
Oh yeah.
Is that prior to executing a binding agreement, but as soon as practical is the intent of the law. That's the reason I'm giving them the points, is because the intent of the rule. And so here's the thing. Part of what you got to keep in mind on any of the laws type of things that happen in this business is you have to stop and look at what was the intent of the law. Because the intent of the law was as soon as practical, even though the law says prior to executing a binding agreement. Now, let me make sure you guys understand, because this is a little different. There's two pieces to this that for me at least, this took me a long time to really understand what the difference was. Is we've got the division who's kind of behind what we're teaching in class today, is the division, which is the laws. But then you've also got the Board of Realtors, which has our code of ethics. And too many times what happens is agents, we get confused as to, if I want to report somebody for doing something wrong, I'm going to turn you into the board, when really it might be something that should be turned into the division. Or we go to turn somebody into the division because we want to get them in trouble, when it's something that really should have gone over to the board. So keep in mind, what we're talking about here is the division. From the division standpoint, when you need to disclose who you represent, well, prior to executing the binding agreement, which for the division, but the intent is as soon as possible. So now on the board side of things, it's similar, close to this, meaning you can't work with somebody else's client, which is saying you should be asking them if they've signed an agency agreement, and when should you do that? So ultimately, from the ethics side of things, it is prior to providing a substantive service, which is where you were going. Is prior to providing a substantive service, and then it says things like presenting a CMA or writing an offer. So to some extent, they're the same in terms of prior to executing an agreement. But keep in mind, there's the code of ethics is about you asking, making sure you're not working with somebody else's client. This one is about making sure the people know who you represent. So if you were doing an open house or you were showing a property to somebody that you were the listing agent, what this one is talking about is saying, you need to, prior to executing a binding agreement, but as soon as practical, being the intent, let them know who you represent. So let me explain kind of really the best way to do this. If you are showing one of your own listings to a buyer that just called you off the sign or internet or whatever, and you're out showing them properties and they start telling you about, hey, well, we want to buy this property and we would even pay way over list price. Like as soon as they're starting to head down a road of they're treating you as if you are their agent, is what this would be referring to, of making sure that they understand, because we already talked about full disclosure. So if the person who you're showing the home to comes to you and says, we'll pay way above list price, we'll go 40,000 above list price, because of full disclosure, what do you have to do now? Well, no, you got to go tell your seller, hey, just so you know, these guys would pay way over list price, and they said up to $40,000, because you've got that fiduciary duty of full disclosure. So that's the idea of this, like as soon as practical is the intent. So for me, I always just say, look at it from the standpoint of as soon as they start to head down a road where they're treating you as if you're their agent, which is fine if you become their agent, but before they start disclosing stuff, you got to let them know, I represent the seller, so anything you're telling me, essentially assume you're telling the seller. Now, the only way around that would be what? Yeah, to have you be their buyer's agent, and then in that scenario be eliminated. All right, good.
I've had that happen before.
You what?
My prior boss, he was going to look at, like, we were looking at some properties, and there was 2 people in the room, and I didn't know who it was, and we were talking about, like, the entire firm was talking about how great the place was. And then our realtor finally typed up and said, well, you guys just need to be careful. This lady right here is the other agent. We're all like, what the frick? Why didn't you tell us that you're the other guy? Like,
Because
hey, it's really hard for us to get in place with the price we want.
Because of
Yeah, we should have disclosed.
yeah. So that's the idea. So ultimately, then, really, to some extent, you would look at that and go, she should have disclosed. Hey, I'm here.
And I only thought of that a year later when I'm like, wow, now that I know this.
But yeah, as soon as you started to talk about it, she should have went, well, hold on, you guys need to understand. So, okay, good. So Zoom, which one do you want next?
Contracts for 800.
All right, here we go. Yeah, she's like, I'm lighting this place on fire now. All right, here we go. Sacrifice and a benefit. So remember, what we're talking about is the elements of a contract. What it has to have in order for it to be a valid contract. So you got to buzz in. Okay.
What is consideration?
Offer consideration.
Well, no, just consideration.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had offer and
Just consideration. Yeah.
acceptance or consideration with both.
You can give too much of an answer if you want. That's okay.
Oh!
Good job. All right.
There we go.
Hey, you're on there. Just so you guys on Zoom know, Zoom, you're still up by 800, just so you know. All right. So what is the, for now.
Sorry.
What is the sacrifice and the benefit? So for us in our real estate purchase contract, what is the consideration, or what is the sacrifice and the benefit?
Ernest,
So, yeah, the money is what the buyer is offering, or what they are sacrificing for the benefit of the home, and then the seller just the reverse, right?
Yeah.
Good job. All right, next. Back to you guys.
Agency continue. Is that what it is? Oh, is that what it is?
Continue.
Content. Okay.
Go, buddy.
We'll do that one for
Thank you. Kids have a home.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I couldn't get the whole word in there. So.
Could be content.
Yes. Agency conflict. All right, here we go. Okay, no statement or action can result in fraud or misrepresentation. You guys want to talk about it first, or are you going to go?
Let's talk about it.
But hold the Zoom mic. But
It's under agency.
Okay. All right, you guys going?
Buzz.
He buzzed.
What is honest? You think so? What do you
Final answer?
Legality, it has to be legal, it has to be, so, legal.
What's your answer?
I don't know. I think I do.
Oh, wait, no, statement,
Because
oh, wait, it has to be
misrepresentation-
talking.
Or act.
Yeah.
Okay, Zoom, if you guys want to buzz in, like they're talking too much.
Honesty, but I'd let them get negative before we.
Or misrepresentation, that's
Well, that's
notice
part of
to
the
two,
answer.
that's notice to two.
We're still talking about. Yeah, we're still talking.
Yeah.
I would say, what is honesty? Let's do, what is honesty?
Is that your answer?
Yes. Let's do it.
Jake brought it up and now he's not sure.
You got it. You got it. What is honesty?
Honesty is correct. Good job. All right. Uh-oh, Zoom, you're only up by 200 now.
Yeah, that's with all even.
Come on, guys.
All right, so here's the thing. Even though we don't owe a fiduciary duty to a customer because they're not a client, we still owe honesty to everybody. So just keeping in mind that you can't say or do anything that would result in fraud or misrepresentation. All right,
It's not.
you're out of the hole.
Contracts to.
Okay, go.
Contract for 200. All right, here we go, Zoom. In writing. All right.
Buzz.
Okay.
What is?
Oh, he's even throwing in the what is. Okay, good. That's right. Statute of frauds, good. So that's the one thing, hey, tie game now. That's the one thing that in terms of the elements of a contract that is, you could have everything else, but it also has to be in writing to be enforceable. So
That's what I thought.
I know. All right, good job. All right, so it's an even game again.
If it's not right.
So that's good now.
We get it later.
Yep.
Let's go contract report.
All right. Contracts for 400. Okay, so it's probably the same thing, the elements of a contract here. All right, next. Legitimate use. This one probably should be worth more points. Carla's got her hand up.
So.
Legitimate use. Ooh, I thought I was giving you the answer.
Of the original intent with the item was used. Like it, like.
Wait,
Yeah,
legitimate
like-
use of fancy. What is contract?
Use it at the house.
It's another word for, basically, it's, I'm looking for, what's the elements of a contract. There are things that have a contract.
What is valid? Yeah, beneficial.
I haven't heard anybody buzz in yet.
So that's for water. That's for water rights.
Zoom, nothing?
I would say.
My son is on and he hasn't buzzed in one time. I'm very
Well,
disappointed.
if this is a valid contract, it has to be legal. It's all
Since Rick's in the room, he's on our team, right?
Yeah, yes.
We call Rick.
Phone a friend. if you want.
Yeah.
Elements of contract. I would say what illegal.
Zoom. Oh,
All right, Zoom's buzzing in. If you guys haven't buzzed,
what is
go
le-
for it.
what is legal use?
Yes, that is correct. Close enough. Yeah, she's like, I'll just steal it from you. Hey, well, you guys had
Oh,
time.
legal purpose.
All right.
Okay, we deserve that. We were low again.
Yeah, you guys are too scared to answer. All right, so it has to be for a legal purpose. So here's the idea of that, is we could have every other piece of this, but if what Corbin and I had was a drug deal, and like we had it all in writing, we had an offer and sacrifice and a benefit, we had all that kind of stuff, and it was a drug deal, and he didn't pay me, like we can't go to court and say, all right, Judge, will you please enforce him to pay me on this drug deal? Like, that's not gonna work. Guys, yeah, they're probably have to. So, what? Yeah, that's right. So that's why they have their own legal system. They have their own legal system. All right. So it has to be for a legal purpose in order for it to be an enforceable. All right, Zoom, make your choice. I feel like we're going really fast for some reason, but oh, it is what it is.
I can't see the screen. Oh, there we go.
Can't see the screen?
Federal laws for 200.
All right. Here we go. Rick, if you got any good stories, let's know them because we have to be here for a certain moment. All right. All have the same right in every state to purchase property.
Federal law, right? Is it? Could be. Now I'm afraid to answer.
I know, this is
Same.
awesome.
We said fair housing.
Zoom, anything?
I guarantee you.
Somebody bringing in?
Well, I think it's gonna be a law though.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be one of
Yeah,
those,
yeah, yeah.
probably one of those acts. All right.
All right, Phil, pull the trigger. I'm gonna say yes, but it might not be. I'm just kidding.
There we go.
All right, good job.
That should be like the original one. I didn't realize that. Everybody's just too nervous about it.
Yeah. I don't know what. Yeah, I know that. I know. I'm like, come on, you seriously? Finally, it. You guys aren't answering. Yeah. So fair housing. So we already had discussions about this before, but ultimately, just here's the thing I would say, and I don't know if I did say this to you guys before, but keep in mind that there are testers out there that will call and test you. So
I got a story.
okay, Rick's got a story.
So,
What are you eating?
pretzels. What is pretzels? So, back when I was first becoming an agent, I don't show rental properties. It's not what I was doing. My wife's Latin. She's from Mexico. Dark as the day is long. So I had this person call in with a heavy, heavy accent and said that, I want you to show me this rental. I'm sorry, I don't do rentals. Well, she went off and started accusing me, you don't want to show it because I sound foreign. And I said, that's not it at all. I don't do rentals. I don't want to show you that property. It's not what I do. She began to just really chew on me, and she hung up on me. Next thing, her husband calls, who was a Marine. I'm going to come down there, and I'm going to whip your butt. I'm like, all right, come on down. You're going to find out. She goes, why don't you show my wife the property? You did it because she's Latin. And I said, sorry, no, that's not the reason. He begins to call my broker, says, I'm taking you guys to court for discrimination. And I said, go for it. And he tells the guy, are you sure you want to do that? He goes, why? He goes, well, he's married to a Latin woman, just so you know. So the point was, is he a tester or is he not? You see, they always thought I was discrimination based on the way she sounded. It's not at all. I don't show rental properties. But there are people out there where I have been called and they revealed themselves at the end as a tester. Just, you know, I don't want you show me any properties that are in a black neighborhood or a Latin neighborhood or whatever.
Red Bill.
And well, of course, and I says, well, I really can't control who lives where. I can show you properties that fit what your likes and dislikes are, other than those things. I can't help you. And I moved on. They called back and said, just so you know. I'm like, wow, so they are out there.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, how long
Yeah,
ago
so
was that?
they
It's like,
About
they
20
still
years
do
ago.
that?
Yeah.
They still do
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Definitely do it, so be aware of
And
it.
so just, yeah, so here's the key thing is when somebody calls and says, don't show me any properties that are whatever, or if they're saying something like, where are the bad areas? So those are the type of questions that, here's the hard part is people are going to legitimately call you and ask you that aren't a tester, but there are going to be people that are testing to see how are you going to respond if somebody calls and says, hey, I only want to see homes in nice areas or whatever. So for me, my answer always is, hey, there's good and bad everywhere. And so ultimately, we probably should just go take a look at a few different places and you can decide what you want or you don't want. So at the end of the day, they get to decide where they want to live.
Good.
It's not up to us to decide.
That's terrible. I
But-
think. If someone's moving from out of state, they're not gonna have a clue on an area. And someone that lives here is gonna
Right.
know. I mean, that's stupid.
Well, so it's a challenge. It is a challenge for what you're saying because you're exactly right. Sometimes people are coming from out of state and they're saying, hey, what about this or that? Well, so let me give you a quick story. So we had a guy at a different company that ran our relocation department. He came from Chicago to here and he bought a home in Sandy. And then one day, for some reason, he and I had gone to lunch and I said, hey, I need to stop by my house. Is that okay? Well, I live out in Taylorsville. And so we went by my house and we pulled into my neighborhood and he was like, this is a nice neighborhood. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I had no idea that on the west side he said, when I came here, everybody told me stay away from the west side. Like you should not live on. And I said, and so I just said to him, like, there's areas on the east side I wouldn't live in, and there's areas on the west side I wouldn't live in. But there's areas on the west side I would, and there's areas on the east side that I would. So, like, that's why for me, I just always say there's good and bad everywhere. So just drive around, and if you see couches on the front porch. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, if you're handing out bulletproof vests, that's a good clue. You know, here's the thing, there is nothing that can't be looked at online for them to decide what they like. Because you can't determine what their life has been like prior to them meeting you. It's like oil and water. What is right for them may not be right for you, or you might live in something that they would never live in. So you have to keep it so neutral that it's like, well, let's go look and see what you think. You can check out all the stats online.
Well, and that's just it, is just keep in mind that your idea of bad might not be the same as theirs. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, there's a house for everyone. And
Well, also, once you actually met them, you would find out that they're a legitimate client. Then
Yeah.
you might be able to be a little more honest with them.
Well, you can do that based on housing trends, right?
Like, they're not gonna send some guy to meet with you
The
that's
testers-
that's still undercover, right?
it's
Yeah,
Or
possible,
is that
yes.
really? So it's not just phone calls.
Especially because the division is listening now and they're gonna call you, Chris, and come test you.
If you're on their radar and they're trying to build a case with you, don't think they won't.
advice.
Yeah.
You ever watch 2020?
Yeah. All right. I don't even know who got that right. Was it you guys? Philly called it.
Yeah, we did.
All right. What do you want next?
Why do you get it?
Yeah, let's do state law 600.
All right.
Let's do it.
Come on, Zoom.
Drum roll.
You guys are still winning. I don't know why I'm saying come on. All right. Here we go. Answer is gift given by an agent or a broker to a buyer or a seller. There's a term for this.
Yeah, it's like, it's that thing you can't pass over $50.
Nothing, Zoom? Man, you guys are letting me down. They're just banking on you guys missing. And they,
They're still ahead. They don't want to drop.
yeah.
Yeah. I just can't remember.
Go girl, go girl, go girl.
Don't be afraid, just answer.
Yeah. We talked about what the winner gets, right?
No.
Last credit?
Pretzels.
Pretzels.
These
These pretzels are making me thirsty.
I don't know.
Nobody really?
Okay, what is closing gifts?
Yeah, close to your.
You know what? Do I give it to him, Rick?
It is.
You know, somebody
Feedback
should
from
have
the leader.
take a jab in the dark at it.
That was a job that are good
Okay, here's what I'll give you. So Zoom, make sure you hear this. 3 words. One of the words you got.
And that's was it closing? Or is it giving?
I'm not giving you the whole answer. Yeah, nobody's getting it.
Oh, no.
I'll let you guys argue for the points.
Let's just void it.
Boy, oh, no.
Gifts and inducements. See, it is two.
Yeah.
Gifts and something.
Isn't that something like you do with your mom, you said?
Yep,
Like
so
a
yeah,
couch?
perfect. That's right. So here's the key thing on this. Is there a limit to what I can do now let me make sure you understand. A gift given by an agent or a broker to a buyer or seller. Is there a limit to what I can do with that?
Yeah, there is.
Like $150 or something.
This year, 500.
I'm gonna say no. I think it's whenever they refer people to you and you're giving.
That's the right answer.
You can't
So
solicit.
there is no limit to what you can do for your client.
Yeah.
So for giving to somebody as a closing gift,
Yeah.
there is no limit. You can do whatever you want, give whatever you want that way for your client. Okay. So yeah, Corbin, what Corbin was saying is right. Is when I charge my mom a full commission, but then afterwards I can go buy her a couch or I can go I can do whatever I want that way, because for a client there is no limit. So you will see from time to time, you'll see people, like there used to be a billboard that was like, list your home with me and you'll get a trip to Hawaii or something. I mean, stuff like that. And that's okay, because that's just,
Get a free TV.
yeah.
I'll do that.
I mean.
TVs are cheap.
I know the TV, today that doesn't mean much. TVs are cheap, so.
Still better than that.
Right.
You.
So just keep in mind, gifts you can do to your clients or whatever you want. There's no limit on that. All right, who got that one?
We did.
Well,
Oh,
I at
nobody
least
did,
tried.
huh? I didn't give it to you.
I at least tried.
We'll just take it.
Yeah, you were close.
I got one word right.
That's true, so you should get 200 points.
There you go, 200 points. One of the 3 words.
Tie game again.
Tie game.
So Zoom, you guys are falling behind. Just kidding, you're tight. All right, so choose the next category.
Contract 6.
All right, contracts for 600. Here we go. Answer is not illiterate, minor, insane, alien, or deceased.
I know.
Okay.
There you go. Alien? Yeah.
Changing your mind?
That's it, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. It would be, there's.
Party,
Yeah, legally.
Close enough.
That's good.
Legally competent parties. All right. Uh-oh, Zoom, you guys just fell behind the first time in the game.
Who said that? Get that answer.
2,800 to 22.
Are all such confidence.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, I know, but.
All right, so legally competent parties. So this was the story that I told you guys about the agent that had gone and gotten a listing and thought he had the right seller sign it. And then when he got the preliminary title report, saw that there was another person on title, found out it was the mom. And I left this part out of the story, but the reason the mom went and had herself added is because he didn't qualify as a legally competent party.
You didn't?
No, he did not. So even though we were trying to do this transaction, she was on there because he really doesn't qualify as that. So anyway, so here's the key thing. Like, just make sure, especially like if you were dealing with somebody who is elderly. Now, just because they're elderly doesn't mean they're not competent, but that maybe seems like they're not all there. Like in that scenario, you would want to say, hey, do you have a kid or a relative or somebody that we could talk to about this? Like, and not that you would want to just say to them, hey, are they competent to be doing this? I mean, potentially you might, but typically just more of, hey, just want to make sure you guys understand what she's doing or he's doing and that it makes sense. And, you know, if they're, yeah, no, they're good. Okay. Then that's fine. But if just know you're going to, from time to time, come across some people that you wonder about. So just No, that's one of the elements of a contract is that the person has to be legally competent, which would include basically of age too, right? All right, in room. All right, I don't think I've had Zoom, you guys report in, so let's see.
Let them choose.
Just put in the chat box, we're losing. So that I know you're still paying attention to the class, so I can give you credit. Just throw in there in the chat box, losing.
Let's go agency 400.
Agency for 400. All right, here we go. Answer is, obligates the agent to obey all lawful instructions from the principal. I was gonna say, this is not that hard.
What is obedience?
Good job. Yes, obedience, good job.
I didn't make a sound. I just heard something.
I know, yeah, that's why I'm like, you gotta make a sound to make it fair for, we need somebody on Zoom to say that. I raised my hand.
Technically, I can. There's a button that says raise hand.
Oh, that's true. It's true, good point. All right, so obedience, you have to obey anything your client asks you to do that's legal, obviously. It's gotta be lawful instructions from them, but anything they ask you to do. So if they ask you to write an offer and lowball it, then you get to do that. All right, next.
Let's do agency for 1,000.
Oh, no.
All right, here we go. Carla's worried. All right, Zoom, here's your chance.
It's gonna be hard.
I got this. The answer.
Zoom, you guys are losing by 1,000, so you might want to answer this one. All right, here we go. Agency for 1,000 prohibits the agent from disclosing without permission any information given to the agent by the principal that would likely weaken the principal's bargaining position if it were known.
Confidentiality.
Yeah.
Did.
Good job. Uh-oh.
I put the nail in the top.
They think you're done now, Zoom. See gaps. All right, obviously, anything that they tell you, you have to keep it confidential. And unless what?
I have a client who still wants to get a signed NDA in addition to agency agreement.
You what?
He wants me to sign an NDA in addition to my agency.
Oh.
Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
can't tell.
So, what would be the only thing though that we would not have to keep confidential? Right? What?
I was gonna say dual agency, but for the buyer and the seller, but
So such as?
Basically, like things about the house that like
Yeah, if they had
anything
flooded.
that's noticeable or
Yeah, so,
anything that like can be seen like considered with just walking through.
obvious.
yeah, so the latent, so it's,
Yeah.
it's the ones that you wouldn't obviously just see. So if you knew something about the property and the seller had said, oh, we had this major flood, but we got it all cleaned up and you can never tell. Even though they say, don't tell anybody, if it's something like that, you would have to still disclose. All right,
Would you
Go ahead.
convince them to disclose it, or would you just say, hey, that's, you know, I mean, you got a buyer come through, you just go, okay, I want to tell them about the leak, I want to tell them about the leak.
yeah, so ultimately what you would want to do is be telling them, if you're not willing to disclose it, I'm going to.
Okay.
Which so really is going to be bad for you, so you might as well disclose it, which I've never run into a scenario of that, of somebody saying, well, I'm not disclosing that. So what about though, since we're on that, what about though, in fact, Moyed brought up, I think in class the other day about somebody died in the property. Okay, so you don't have to disclose it, but what if somebody asks?
Said you have to.
Okay, good. So I had a property that I had a guy that lived in my neighborhood that was an estate attorney. And he called me one day and said, hey, I got a property that I need to sell. Can you help me sell it? I said, yeah. He said, go drive by and take a look at it. There's a key under the mat, front door. So I get there, I go look, there's no key under the mat. So I first called to make sure I'm at the right house. And I was. And he's like, I don't know what happened to the key. So just check it from the outside. So I kind of checked from the outside. Well, he said, I'm gonna have to work on getting a key for you. I said, great. He said, but let's get it listed anyway. So I send him the listing agreement. We get everything going. And like, I'm having it hit the market. and he says to me, hey, will you go put the key on? The key's under the mat. So yes, I open the door, I go walk through it so that I can at least have seen the house. And I walk through and notice in one area there's some carpet missing, which I was like, well, that's kind of weird. But but the house wasn't in great condition anyway, so I was kind of like, not that unusual. But so I leave, and somebody shows the house, and no, it was before they showed the house. So before the house gets shown, I leave the house, and this attorney calls me and says, hey, were you able to go check it out? I said, yeah. And he said, did you notice anything weird? And I said, not really. I mean, I noticed some carpet missing, but like with the condition of the house, it wasn't that weird for me though. And he said, well, did the neighbor come talk to you? I'm like, no. Why would the neighbor come talk to me? Yeah, exactly. He's a carpet thief. No, and he says, because he said, oh, well, usually if anybody's there, the neighbor runs over to tell them what happened at the house. I'm like, oh, well, what happened at the house? And he said it was a murder-suicide at the house. So the reason there was carpet missing was there was blood on it, so they had cut out the carpet. Now, so then what happens is the first person that shows the house, obviously the neighbor ran over and talked to him, because I get a phone call from the buyer's agent that says, hey, my buyer's very interested in the home. Is there anything you want to tell me about it? And I said, no.
Because it's stigmatized property, you don't have.
That's right, because I don't have to say it. Basically, say, is there anything you want to tell me? Yes.
Something like that. That person will find out. They'll move in and every neighbor will come over and tell them what happened.
So
that would be like, why is the agent not telling them that?
Good. So that what you're saying is right on, Chris, meaning like, but legally, I don't have to say it.
Yeah, because if your client doesn't want you to do it, you don't represent the buyer.
That's right. But the discussion to have is better is to letting the seller know that, hey, if the neighbors are going to go tell somebody, then it will be better if you just do it anyway. But now if the neighbors, they don't think you're going to, then maybe you don't. But so he says, is there anything you want to tell me? And I said, no. And he says, well, I was talking to the neighbor. Now, is there anything you want to tell me? And I said, well, yeah. So based on that, then you're already aware. But I made sure the other agent knew we don't have to disclose that.
Doesn't he still have to ask the question?
Well, yeah, but he tiptoed around it enough that I knew. But he said, my buyer doesn't care. I just wanted to see if you would tell me. And I said, well, once you told me you talked to the neighbor, then yes, I'll tell you. But we don't have to disclose that, because exactly what happened with Moyed on his deal is as soon as the buyer found out, they're like, I'm not.
It's kind of like slipping your buyer a list of questions. Say, there's a piece of paper on the floor. Ask me if someone died in this place.
A few months ago, I had people, they were looking for a house, and I told one, I was like, on the MLS that we were gonna go see, and they were like attached documents. And it said that there was like a murder that happened a month ago, and they just like put it in the disclosures, like all at once.
Well, and my guess would be exactly what we were just saying, what Chris was bringing up, is they probably are like, look, we would rather you know and not buy the property to begin with than put it under contract, find out, and cancel it. So, yeah.
I would always think there would be different degrees of that too. Someone just died, an old person died in their sleep in their bed. It's like not as shocking as like, oh, people got murdered in there. Or, you know. There's also people that
I was gonna say, my guess is that one, the one that Madison's talking about was.
I knew they were like superstitious.
Yeah, see, that's just it. If it's one that was a bad one that you just know the neighbors are gonna be coming over, you might as well. All right. Hey, Zoom, you guys are losing by 2,000, just FYI.
What happened to their next?
Yeah, where's their mascot? All right. What are you choosing? I know, they've really had, like, there's 8 of them.
Let's do agency continue. Yeah, 200.
For which, for 200?
Why
All right.
We're gonna go.
Because you called out, because you called out soon. All right. Account for all money or property entrusted to the agent.
Ding ding.
Okay.
What is it?
Very good.
Yeah.
Whoa, I hit the wrong button. Reset scores. Yeah. Accountability. Oh, good job. I guess I skipped it because I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything about it. Obviously, you gotta account for all the money and that kind of stuff. All right. What do you want? Oh, yeah.
That's
sorry.
what I want.
I've done actually pretty good, but a lot of times I forget. Good job. 4,400, they've doubled your score now, Zoom. All right, what do you want next?
State law.
800? 800, okay, here we go. Answer is paying an unlicensed person for a referral. There's a term for this.
What is that it?
What is it? He says, big, wait, hold on.
What is soliciting? Yeah.
No, that is incorrect. That's only 200.
I'm gonna shut up now. So, I'll just get there.
This one's a hard one, yeah. I'll tell you, it's a hard one. Oh, I only subtracted 200, and they should have subtracted 800. Well, no, I didn't do it right. You're taking too long. Yeah, you guys are taking way too long. Come on, Zoom. Nothing? See, this is the hard part, is usually when we do this in person, if there's a team that's really losing bad, I go and try to cheat for them.
Well, that's not. Yeah, it's like that. I'm pretty good.
It's a hard, the term is, you're not going to use it. Answer is,
That's right.
all right, but now let's do this for the points. So buzz in on this one.
It can become soliciting.
For the point, how much can you pay? I haven't heard anybody buzz in, so.
Isn't it 250?
I didn't buzz for a reason, but it started like 200.
Yeah, Aaron's like, I'm not costing this another.
Oh, no, I'm gonna shut up now.
All right. Yeah, so up to $250 you can pay. Now, so here's the way that off kind of topic for the class, but for you guys of how to work this so you understand it and how you want to do this is here's what I would recommend is when somebody gives you just a referral, I would recommend, in fact, actually last night, I got home from work and there was a card sitting on the table that had come in the mail. I assumed that my birthday was on Sunday, so I just assumed it was like a birthday card. Thanks. So I open it up though, and I look, and it just says, "Thank you for referring." And then I don't even know the names. I can't even remember what it said. Like when I read it, I'm like, I don't know what it was. But thank you for referring these people to me, and they gave me a $10 gift card, Amazon gift card. And then it just said Ben. I don't know who Ben is. They gave me, and I don't know who the people were that I referred. That could be, I don't know. Apparently I referred.
That's why you only got 10 bucks.
I referred some people. I don't even know the name. Like I was looking at the names. I'm like, I don't even know who these people are. But here's the thing. I got a $10 gift card. So that's what I would say for you guys is like one of the things that I would recommend that you do is if somebody just gives you a referral from your SOI, send them a thank you card and put a $10 Cold Stone or Amazon or whatever to Chick-fil-A. I mean, whatever it is. A $10 gift card, just thanks for referring to people. Make sure you put your first and last name on the card though, so that because I'm like, Ben, I don't know. I have a brother-in-law. Well, I have a brother-in-law named Ben, and he's an electrician, and I will refer people to him, but I'm like, he's not going to write me a card. Like he would have handed me a card. So I don't know where it came from. But anyway. So here's the thing. So let's say somebody does that. Now you go out and you show them some properties. Or you go on a listing appointment with them and they sign a buyer broker or they sign a listing agreement with you. Now I would say go send them, since I see Chili's out the window, send them a gift certificate to Chili's or to Red Lobster or somewhere to, well, for me, once it's like it's gone to like they signed a contract with me. So just referring to me, I'm going to send a $10 or a $15 thing. They sign a contract with me. Now I'm going to send, hey, go to dinner, it's $45, $50 or something to somewhere to go to dinner. That now we close on the property, now I'm sending them one to like Bruce Chris or something, you know, nicer like that.
Yeah.
So that's the idea, is like, so keep in mind the finder's fee, you can do multiple amounts, but only up to $250.
And you can only do that at like once, totaling 250, or could it be like multiple people totaling? Like, you know what I mean?
Multiple people.
Like the single.
So
Like
here,
one
and here's,
person refers you X amount of people.
A car for you, a car for you.
yeah, if you, so Aaron, let's say that you were not an agent, and you referred somebody to me, I can send you up to $250. 2 months later, you refer somebody, I can give you another.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure. It's all regional.
Now, so
Yeah.
here's the key though.
Per referral.
Yeah, and here's the key thing on this, is if you're gonna do it, make sure you like keep doing it, because remember, it's for an, oh, I didn't put it up there, unsolicited referral though is the law. So if I don't send one to Aaron, and then, you know, for whatever reason, I'm kind of late on sending it, and he calls me one day and goes, hey, I referred those people to you, you didn't send me a gift card. All of a sudden, I can't do it anymore, because it's now expected. And so even though he might expect it, if he comes and starts asking, hey, I thought you would send me, every time I send somebody to you, you're gonna send me.
So
Bruce
solicited
Chris.
means it's like an understanding that they'll get it every time.
Yep. And there can't, if that happens, then you can't. All right.
So upfront, don't expect this.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
All right.
Don't mess with that.
Yeah, don't ask about this. All right.
Is there a maximum amount?
Yeah.
No.
That's fine.
Yeah, an agent.
50-50.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna do this whole transaction, you're getting all the money. Yep. All right, where are we going next? All right, agency 400, here we go. Answer is, a real estate broker is deemed to have skill and expertise in real estate matters superior to that of the average person. I'll give you guys a hint. I should go type in the chat box or Zoom.
Yeah.
It's a fiduciary duty.
Oh, it's expertise.
Are you looking it up, Jake, or are you online?
Boom. Answer.
Nothing?
Reasonable care.
Oh, there's my son, finally shows up. And he's right. Of course, I typed in the chat box.
There you go. And they deserve it.
Yeah. Oh, oops.
I'll contribute for the freebies.
It said something about reasonable care.
Reasonable care and diligence, so this is what it is. So, all right, so in terms of that, here's the idea of this, is we are deemed to have skill that the average public doesn't. But because of that, though, here's where really this plays into it, is where I see this get violated by agents, is in scenarios like this. You're prospecting, you come across somebody that says, oh, hey, my company wants to buy a $50 million building. Can you help me? Can you help them? Are you licensed to help somebody buy a $50 million building? Yeah, you are. You can do commercial. Your real estate license allows you to do that. But do you have the skill necessary to do that for the client?
Probably not.
Yeah, if it's a business or something like that, probably not.
But
Now,
I was gonna say, I'm kind of in a situation like that right now. And I'm like, but I have my team leads and I have my managing broker. And does that mean like, even though I signed an agreement with this person, then it's like I'm still doing the diligence and care that it takes to get the job
see,
done?
that's the key. That's what I would recommend. See, but sometimes somebody will see something like that and they'll say, oh, well, I don't want to go give up part of my commission to somebody else on that type of a deal. But I would just say to you, because of this, if something goes wrong, you'll get slapped pretty hard because of, hey, the fiduciary duty of reasonable care and diligence, because you don't really know what you're doing. So let me give you another example that I see this happens a lot. you have somebody that says, oh, I'm gonna go buy a place down in St. George, and we've already identified it. And you're saying, oh, well, let me just write the offer for you. Well, unless you know the St. George market, and when I say know the St. George market, I don't just mean the real estate market. What I'm meaning is like, do you understand some of the issues and things that go on down there? And I'll give you an example. I taught this class down in St. George a few years ago, where I just did it at the board. And we started talking about this, and they were, of course, freaking out because they were saying, Salt Lake agents come down here all the time and they're trying to do business and they shouldn't. And somebody brought up, there's areas down here that have blue clay. Well, I'd never even heard of blue clay, so I don't even know what, but so that's kind of the point is, I don't know what blue clay is, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I mean, I'm assuming it's bad, but I don't, Corbin, you apparently know what it is. What's blue clay?
It's just moving foundation so the house would settle and start to sag.
Okay. So anyway, stuff like that, you would not be looking out for your client's best interest because you wouldn't know to ask that type of question. So anyway, reasonable care and diligence, just making sure that you understand, and if you don't, that you're getting somebody that partnering up with somebody where maybe you are doing a 50-50 or something, so that you've got somebody that has that expertise. So, all right, next. Who got that? Oh, my son did. That's right. Good job, son. You made me proud.
He didn't believe it.
Yeah. Hey, I got to cheat for my own son. All right. So Zoom, choose the category.
Yeah, now we are.
I've realized how I could cheat for them is I throw it in the chat box, and you guys don't know. Of course, it took a long time after I typed it in.
We'll watch.
Somebody on Zoom. Yeah.
Let's pull it out.
Somebody choose on Zoom. We're gonna be here all day. I think they're waiting for you to choose one.
Federal law is 1,000.
All right, federal laws for 1,000.
That was
All right.
state laws you clicked on.
Well, too bad. We're doing state laws.
I'm going back.
This is why I don't contribute. You don't listen to me.
Hey, I just try to help you out. All right, here we go. State laws. All documents reflect the true terms. This one's worth a lot of points, and you're never going to get it.
Oh, great. Then why wouldn't we try it? We're gonna get negative.
Any ideas? I probably shouldn't have told you that right off the bat.
Yeah.
2 words. The 2 words. One of the words is the opposite of a word in the answer.
False. False.
First word is false. So now you guys can see if you can ring in and
Second
get
word
this.
is false. First
No,
word
the first word is false.
Yes.
Okay.
False representation.
Wrong.
He said the first one was false. False. It's okay. We can still.
So this is where Zoom's like, we're not answering for sure.
No, give it.
All right. Should I just give it to you?
Just what is it? Yeah. Don't give them a chance now.
Don't give them a chance.
Don't give them a chance.
All right. False devices.
It is false.
That was a tough one. But so here's the thing. We talked about double contracts. A false device would be essentially you're writing up one contract one way, but then actually really using a separate contract that's not disclosed. So that's where I was saying, ultimately, what was happening in that scenario I gave to you guys is people would go in and say, we'll offer you 100,000, but the seller needs to forgive the other 20,000. And there was a separate agreement signed that, because otherwise, like a buyer's agent shouldn't let a buyer go sign a contract saying you're going to owe 100,000 on a property that's worth 80, unless they had an agreement that, hey, this is going to be forgiven after the fact. So that's where this there was a false device put in place. Carla.
Well, I was just looking, the reason I was looking on my phone is I was looking up a case I've been following this gal that went to prison from Utah for 7 years. I forgot what she said. In the specific case to which she pleaded guilty, Louder in late 2007 negotiated the sales price for an outland home of around $725,000, then obtained a loan for $1 million, making $230,179 out of the deal. Yeah. There's a portion out. But
I told you I was going to give you guys some good ideas. Don't do it.
Definitely false devices.
Yes. You should get the points for that. All right. Now we'll do the federal laws for 1,000 since nobody got it. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, this is your last chance, Zoom. You guys better get on this. All right, here we go. Issues relating to noise, air quality, water, wildlife, etc.
Oh, it's a law.
Federal law.
Should I screw us up? Should I screw us up?
Do it.
All right,
You'll
what
then be
is-
losing by 200.
What is the environmental?
Close enough. Nice.
What is it? How bad is it? Agency.
Oh, agency. EPA. EPA.
Say that.
Good one. That's not really a law. All right.
Oh, I did.
All right, next. We got 4 more questions.
Come on.
All right. Answer is, when advertising the name of the brokerage must be, when advertising, the name of the brokerage must be.
Oh, when there's at least like 20% larger. No, it's like a third the size of the largest one. Why not all of them? You said it's not.
So let me, so before you answer, before anybody answers, let me tell you, the law changed somewhat recently.
How
So-
outdated is this?
So what the answer I have up here is the old answer. But if you give me the old answer or the new answer, I'll take it. I think I have I may have updated.
Is this like a one-word answer or is it
No.
like a phrase? Okay. So it's actually.
Something like
According to.
Yeah, that's-
What did he say?
He didn't say anything. He said half the size of the.
Oh. Oh, yeah, so Lindsay, sorry, I apologize. You gotta make a noise there for me. All right, so so somebody from Zoom just made noise. All right, Lindsay typed in at least half the size of the agent's name. I'll accept that.
What is the actual?
Yeah, what's the new one?
Oh, there you go. Included.
All right. Good job, Zoom. You got 200 points.
What's the new one?
So what the law says now is that it has to be the way it says now is it has to be a reasonable size.
Leave it up to
That's it? Reasonable.
Leaves the jury.
Yeah, essentially, that's what it is. So the reason I have left the answer up here as being half of the size is my recommendation to you is to still stick with that because the law was that it had to be half the size of the agent's name at a minimum. But they changed it to just it has to be a reasonable size. Well, what defines
Is this like font number or like
Yeah.
square inch of billboard? Like.
well, either way.
Well, see, that's why, I feel like that's why it's okay. Say you get a billboard and you're like, buy with mass liquor because I bought it, and then at the bottom where it says Century Company, you can still see it. I feel like that's reasonable.
Yeah, as long as it's reasonable, you're gonna be okay, but I've left it as kind of stick with half the brokerage name should be at least half the size of your name, only because that's what the old law was, so I think you would 100% be safe. As long as it's reasonable, then you're gonna be okay. All right, cool. Zoom. Oh yeah, I forgot. Lindsay doesn't have a mic. I forgot.
Take a shower.
Someone's washing their hands. Yeah. All right, Zoom, choose a category.
That sounded like I'm pretty sure that was.
Someone, anyone. Bueller.
Agency for 800.
All right, there we go. I was gonna say, next time, if they get it right, somebody who hasn't said a word has to choose. All right, agency for 800, here we go. Works to assist in negotiating a mutually acceptable transaction for both the buyer and the seller.
Dual agency. Yeah. But wait, yeah, I would say yes. But I know there's the other one, there's the transaction. Limited agency.
I was gonna say, technically it's limited agency, but yet some places they call it dual. So, all right, good job.
Woo!
Yeah. Well, in other states.
All right.
It's the federal law side of the class that we get drilled dual agency.
Yeah, that's the challenge is it, in some areas they call it dual agency. Here we call it limited. So,
I think limited is more accurate because it limits your abilities to do it.
right.
And dual agency. Like
Yeah,
you
it
do
just sounds like you're doing both. Yeah. Which actually, the interesting thing on that, since we got a second here, is I was talking to an attorney friend of mine that was a real estate attorney at a different company that I was at, and we were talking about this, and he was talking about how horrible limited agency is from a legal perspective. And I was like, no, yeah, but from the agent's perspective, like it's awesome. Like you get double the commission for doing the one deal, and I couldn't really understand. And he said, ultimately, what you're doing is this. He said it would be like me as an attorney going to court and telling the judge, I'm here to represent both sides.
Right.
Like he's like, you could not do that in a court of law. You can't go represent both sides. So, and once he explained it that way, I was like, yeah, I guess that is kind of true. Like you technically can't do it. But I'd sure like the commission when I do. So
Yeah, that's
sure. All right.
So our best strategy is to sit tight and let them.
Don't answer at all. All right, we at least choose a category. The 400? Okay, here we go.
Really good.
Federal laws for 400. Here it is. Truth in lending. Ooh, this one isn't tough.
Oh, yeah.
So this one is, there's another term for it.
Sherman antitrust.
That's to do with this one.
Oh, no, I know this one.
What is it?
It's, TILA.
I don't think anybody ever gets it right. It's kind of contained, that is contained within this. And it's the Federal Consumer Credit Protection Act.
Oh, screw that.
Yeah, it's a tough one. All right, last category, last answer, then we're done. For 1,000. These become limited in limited agency. Well, yeah, so which ones?
Which ones? What is? And?
Final answer?
Yeah, that was all the answers. Final answer.
Exposure and,
Full disclosure, confidentiality.
yeah. Honesty? No, not honesty. Okay. Yeah.
Honest. Yeah, lawyers.
Yeah, you don't have to be honest.
Yeah, got it.
Honesty, no, that's never.
Yeah, that's
No,
never,
I
never
know.
lie your way through it.
Yeah,
You're
right.
right. All right. Final score, 6,200 to 2,800.
What could be worse?
You get the, here's what you get for getting it correct is I will apply your CE credit first.
Nice. 2 minutes before you do that.
Yeah, 2 minutes before I do the people online. All right. Any questions on any of the stuff we talked about? Yeah, Jake. What is the final hazard? You want to do the final hazard?
Yep.
I was gonna just not do it, but you want to do it? We'll see what you can do. All right.
Let's do it. How's that? Oh, it's just for hazard. I don't want to lose the game.
All right, just for fun. Here we go. Your success depends on you doing these 5 things consistently. So here's the idea of this is pre-COVID, so none of you guys are probably really going to know this, but there were 5 things that John and George would consistently be talking about. You got to do these 5 things in your business. There's 5 things you got to be doing, and you need to do these consistently. So
Is it the,
I haven't heard them talk about them too much lately. So that's why I was going to skip it, is because they haven't really been talking about it too much. So for Zoom, if you guys can throw in
is
the
this like
5
a
things,
micro or a macro thing? Like any business or specifically?
Real
our
estate.
daily real estate?
us, you as an agent.
Prospecting.
That is one of them. Prospecting is one of them. Although it's really called set an appointment every day. So that would include follow-ups.
So it's just one.
Contract sign.
Setting contract, it is one.
That's 1 out of the 5,
So our 3 top
What
ideas.
kind of help?
How to talk to 3
essentially.
Help. Is it help in there?
Nope.
Any contract
Zoom,
sign?
have any ideas?
Anything good that's a lot.
Somebody said role play. Nope. Although it is important. I don't know if I have. I'm going to see if I can.
Successful.
I'm going to see if I can reveal them one at a time. I don't remember if I did
not,
it to where. Because yeah, if not, then you'll just see them. Oh, good. Okay. So set an appointment. That's why I was like, oh, reveal that.
Ask the business.
That would be set an appointment.
Go on.
Show
Yeah.
up.
That's a good one.
Is follow-up one?
No.
Sign agreements.
Oh,
That's
I'm
one.
sorry.
Call 3 to 5 people from your SOI every day. Well, that is.
I just think that's why.
Yeah, I was wondering if that's-
Take 1 listing every month. For some agents, it should be 1 a week. Okay, good. So, okay, good. Well, you're good. You're on your way. Call your sellers weekly and participate. Basically, the idea of participate is just because you have been with the company for a while, what will happen is a lot of times agents will go, oh, I've heard all this stuff before, so I'm not going to go to the summit this time, or I'm not going to participate in Morning Ascent. And one of the things that, what?
LeBron James still goes to practice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's just it. If you look at it and just get involved and participate with what's going on. Even if you feel like I've heard it before, there's the saying of nobody ever crosses the same river twice. And the idea being is either you have changed or the river has changed. And so you'll get different things out of it, even though you might feel like, oh, I'm hearing that same thing about call your SOI, call your SOI, call your SOI. Well, are you doing it? And most agents, the answer is no. That's why we keep saying it. So we have to keep saying the same thing to the same agents until they will start to do this stuff we talk about. So
Can I just add to that?
yes.
I've been with a broker for a while. I did my license, but he kind of made some changes and it caused us one for the longest time. He got so mad because somebody was calling his upset myself at home. But he wasn't called as SOI for the longest time. And then he was finding out people had already bought houses that
Yep.
because he didn't follow up. So, and this is a very, very, very secret thing.
Yep.
So,
That's why I'd say, even though you keep hearing some of this stuff, it's for good reasons. All right. Well, hey, thank you for being here. For you guys online, make sure that I have your license number at least one time. I think everybody put first and last name, but I know last class on Zoom, I saw somebody online and they never put their name in anywhere and they never made any comments or anything. So I'm not counting them as attending the class. So I don't know if and it wasn't anybody. I don't think they're on today either, actually. But just so you guys, none of you have to worry about it. But just make sure I've got something on there. Yeah, that person's not on today either. So.
I started coming to this class like probably 1 or 2.
yeah, I think I missed a session.
Yeah, so what'll happen,
I
yeah,
was just told there's like 12 weeks I need to go to, you know?
yeah. So what'll happen is we rotate through these. So if you missed one of the 6, I won't give you credit for the 12-hour this time. But the next go around, I'll send you an email of, hey, you need to attend this one. And once you hit that one, then I will. So I have a spreadsheet that I track it on. So I will know once you've hit all 6.
Awesome, yeah. And there's only 6 to us. There's 12 weeks.
Well, there's for the peak agent training, there's like 12 weeks worth of classes, but then there's the 12-hour new agent class, which is 6 out of those about 20 classes that we do. So you keep coming. Oh, which, by the way, before hopefully you guys still haven't dropped off the ones, looks like most of you are still on. Next week, The Tuesday class is moving to Wednesday because Tuesday is the UAR convention kind of a thing. And so like Lawrence Hume from the National Association of Realtors is going to be speaking. And I think Sam Bell, our attorney / president of the Everest Group, is going to be speaking as well. So we will do the class next week will be Wednesday, Thursday for lead generation 1 and 2. Your calendar says Tuesday, Thursday, but it's going to be Wednesday, Thursday because of that. So anyway, I'll send that out today. So
Is that gonna be, can we go to that?
I think it's all just going to be Zoom. You have to get a link and watch online. As far as I know. Yeah. Thanks to COVID. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for being here, guys. Thank you. See you later. Let's share.
Russ, you're not actually doing these classes again, because we're like, so like